Story 1 Original post. Am I the a-hole for leaving in the middle of Thanksgiving dinner because of pumpkin pie? My 32 female mother, 60 female, hosts Thanksgiving dinner at her house every year. It's a small event, with my parents, me, my brother's family and my sister-in-law's family attending. We avoid family quarrels by implementing a strict no politics rule and trying our best to be civil. I should probably mention that we are not a particularly close-knit family. We rarely see each other beyond these events since my brother lives in South Africa and I travel a lot due to my work. Thanksgiving is important to my mom since it's one of the rare times we're all together. Anyway, the main problem I have with my mother is her constant critique of me. She has a habit of making passive-aggressive comments about my life choices, from my career to my lack of children to the way I dress. I've addressed this with her multiple times, but she doesn't really seem aware of it. My father claims it is just her way of fussing and expressing that she cares. It does hurt though, because my brother is never criticized in the same manner. I cannot entirely fault her for her criticism, since I did majorly mess up my life a few months ago, depression, and it has affected her opinion of me negatively. It does not excuse the way I acted, but I just wanted to explain why I left. By the time we finished dinner, I was a bit prickly because of some of her commentary. I made a cake for dessert. I was explicitly put in charge of it and no one specified what exactly I should make, so I opted for maple cheesecake. I did my best and I think it looked okay. Mum normally makes pumpkin pie, but I really hate pumpkins, they make me gag, so I thought perhaps we could try something new. As I was bringing out the cheesecake, my mom eyed it somewhat warily and announced that she decided to make the usual pie as well. This caught me off guard. I asked why she didn't tell me beforehand, and she said something like, "Well, we figured you'd do your own thing, so I thought it was best to have a backup." She went on to cut the pie and serve it to everyone, instructing me to leave the cheesecake in the kitchen. When someone asked to try my dessert, she said let's not mix too many flavors at once, which just felt passive-aggressive. I know it's immature for an adult to get this upset over a triviality, but I just, politely, refused as she was handing me a slice of pie, retrieved my coat and left. People were calling after me, I think, but by that point I was crying for some reason and it would have been too humiliating to have an emotional outburst in front of everyone for no real reason. My mom just texted me saying that it was incredibly rude and immature of me to leave like that, especially on Thanksgiving. My brother also sent me a message saying I'm acting irrationally. I feel horrible for leaving so abruptly, especially because my parents are getting older and we are already not close. Something about my mother seems to turn me into a neurotic teenager and I hate it. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole if your mother's way of fussing and expressing that she cares looks, sounds, and feels like she's being a deliberately nasty person, then I'm guessing she is really just being a deliberately nasty person. Walks like a duck and all that. I'd tell your father this. Your mother premeditated the whole dessert thing right down to the kick in the teeth of excluding the dessert you made from the table. She got off on being cruel in this petty way for whatever warped reason. This kind of thing is no accident and not care in any way. Golden boy brother can't see it because he is never the target. Dad is trying to see it through the best possible lens. Your mother won't admit to herself what she is really doing even as she deliberately does it. Their blindness doesn't mean she isn't doing it. Not just excluding it from the dinner table, but actively telling someone trying to eat the damn cheesecake they can't. OP, the only reason you don't know with absolute certainty that your mother is the asshole here is because you are used to her abuse. I wouldn't be surprised if your depression were directly tied to the way she diminishes you and your father-brother do nothing about it. Are you able to go to therapy? Therapy is literally a person to talk to who can give you an outside perspective and whose only interest is helping you decide how you want to act, protect yourself, etc., regarding the things happening around you and rattling around in your head. OP, I'm so sorry your family has failed you here. Not the a-hole. Your mom is the worst, like seriously the worst. God forbid anyone eat and then compliment your cheesecake. You were not crying for some reason, you were crying for valid reasons. You were not behaving irrationally, you were reacting with perfect rationality given your circumstances. Maybe take off the rest of the holidays and give yourself some grace. Or spend them with a friend or family member that doesn't treat you like an inconvenience. From one black sheep to another, you deserve way better. Not the a-hole, you're not close for good reason. Your mom can't even be nice and civil for one evening. Next year decline the invite. We usually have several kinds of dessert for our holiday meals. Maple and pumpkin go great together. I've had key lime pie and chocolate silk pie at the same time without any issue. Your mother was just being unkind on purpose to undermine you. You did the right thing by leaving when you felt like you could take no more. You don't need to reply to those texts. They didn't ask a question to reply to. They didn't offer an apology to accept or decline. So what would you need to reply to? Ignore it and go on with your best life. You deserve peace and kindness at the holidays as much as anyone. Your family isn't bringing that. So have Thanksgiving with a friend next year. Not the a-hole. You were explicitly in charge of dessert. Also, maple cheesecake sounds effing delicious. Mom, it was incredibly rude to ask me to bring dessert, then tell me that you planned for me to screw up, then refuse to serve my dessert even when someone else asked for it. That was atrocious host behavior, and I'm just done with accepting such absolute hogswill. I deserve better, regardless of how you judge me, hence I expect better. Not the a-hole, and feel free to not holiday with them again. Your mother was rude. You left as a result. Doesn't sound like you will miss much tender loving care or emotional support, so just not bothering with them for the time being seems a winner of a no effort involved strategy. I would have eaten your cheesecake. Sounds nice. Not the a-hole. Update. Hello. Since I always wonder what happened to the people who post on here, I thought I'd give a brief update. When I wrote that post, I was mentally in a pretty dark place. I think I needed someone, even if it was a stranger on the internet, to validate my feelings and listen. And commenters on here did listen and took the time to write advice that made me think, so thank you. Most of you were right. My post was not really about pumpkin pie or cheesecake. The underlying tension between me and my mother has always expressed itself through fights over trivialities and long silences. Many of you have asked me why I, as a 30-year-old woman, still go to these events. I've asked myself the same question and realized that there is no reason for me to be there. My brother and I do not get along, we never have, and my mother has brought this onto herself. I will be spending Christmas elsewhere. However, I feel like my post might have portrayed my mother in an unfair light. I know it does not matter, since you are here to judge a conflict and not a person, but some of the comments seem to assume my mum to be a nasty and mean bully. She is not. She can be very kind and very generous and has done a lot of good for people through her work. She is also terrible at expressing emotion, frustrated by retirement, and herself had a very difficult childhood. Our relationship has not always been this bad, and I too have been cruel to her in the past. In regards to the actual quarrel, I have sent only a short response to my brother since Thanksgiving, ignoring Mum's texts. She called yesterday and seems to be hell-bent on buying me new shoes. She rarely apologizes. I am not strong enough to keep hoping she changes. I will address the topic of my childhood with my therapist. Happy holidays, everyone. Now for the comments. What stand out to me is the fact that you said she is a good person because of her work, which helps a lot of people. That is work. It sounds to me that this is a persona she was putting out there for the community. She probably thrive on everyone thinking of her as amazing, brilliant, great. It doesn't make her a good person. The pumpkin pie incident illustrates that perfectly. Think Mean Girls, who put charity events on, if you will. She will step on anyone she needs to be the top dog while keeping a big smile on her face. Then gaslight or pretend nothing happened. Maybe it is due to her childhood, maybe it is her personality, but in any case your mother is toxic, and she will continue to act this way as soon as the next occasion comes. Keep this in mind. Exposure to toxicity is dangerous for your health, and the longer you get exposed the more harm it is causing you. I will address the topic of my childhood with my therapist. It is good that you're in therapy and will be talking to them. When doing so, please consider discussing what you said here. Some of the comments seem to assume my mum to be a nasty and mean bully. She is not. She can be very kind and very generous and has done a lot of good for people through her work. Both of these things can be true at the same time. Even bullies can be kind and generous when they want to be. Even bullies can do good for other people. Some bullies are like Gojira, indiscriminately stomping its way through Tokyo in their behavior. Others can be more discriminating in their bullying behavior, reserving their vitriol for selected targets. I know someone whose mother is like that. A pleasant person to most of the people around her, but to her adult child, nasty and horrible. Constantly tearing that acquaintance down. With respect to you in that situation, it does not matter that your mom is generally kind, nice and helpful. What matters is that to you, at that time, and in that place she was acting as bullies act. By the fact itself, she is a bully. There is a lot of cognitive dissonance that people often have to be overcome in processing that idea, particularly about one's own parent. But doing so, when needed, can be a significant step forward. Your therapist should definitely be able to help you figure out if this is something you need to work through, and help you with that. We don't know your mother as well as you do, But I don't think you misrepresented your mother. You told us about a situation in which your mother was nasty and mean. It doesn't matter how nice she is to others, or how good she's done through work. Her difficult childhood is for her to deal with, and none of it, her niceness to others or her past hurts, justifies using you as a scapegoat. She doesn't get to make you feel horrible so that she feels better. She doesn't get to create toxic dynamics where her nastiness towards you is not only tolerated, but so deeply accepted that you are turned into the villain by her and the rest of the family for not agreeing to be treated badly. You shouldn't let her clam her bad conscience by buying you shoes. And you should not feel guilty for recognizing her bad behaviors and for calling them out. You deserve an apology, but if you don't think that's going to come from her, then at the very least you deserve to acknowledge to yourself that she treated you poorly and that there is no excuse for it. And you can decide not to allow her to treat you poorly in the future without feeling guilty. You deserve kindness from yourself at the very least, and she and the rest of your family don't get to make you guilty about it. You can love your mum and your family, and appreciate their good qualities and acknowledge their struggles, and still not take their bullcrap. One doesn't negate the other. I wish you the best, and I hope you have or find a chosen family that gives you the love and kindness you need. Story 2. Am I the a-hole here for after the decision I made after my brother's hurtful jokes about my pregnancy? For years, I have hosted Christmas dinner at my house. I absolutely love doing it, decorating, cooking, and bringing the whole family together for a special night. My younger brother, Marco, has always been the family jokester, but this year, his joke went way too far. A few weeks ago, I decided to surprise the family by announcing that, after years of trying, my husband and I are finally expecting a baby. I shared the news during an intimate family lunch, and everyone was thrilled, except Marco. He laughed and said, "Are you sure? With how much you eat, I just thought it was a holiday belly." His comment hurt, but I tried to ignore it to avoid ruining the moment. Unfortunately, it didn't stop there. Marco, thinking he was so funny, created a WhatsApp group with our cousins and some relatives called The Mystery of the Baby or the Turkey, where he shared memes and jokes about whether I was really pregnant or just gaining weight. I found out about the group because one of my cousins showed it to me, feeling uncomfortable with the jokes. I was completely humiliated. I confronted Marco directly, but he brushed it off, saying it was just humor and that everyone was laughing. "Don't take it so seriously," he added. After days of thinking it over, I made the difficult decision to cancel Christmas dinner at my house this year. I told my family I needed a break and that someone else could host instead. Of course, everyone started asking why, and when I explained what Marco had done, opinions were split. My mom thinks I'm overreacting and should let it go because it's Christmas. Some of my aunts and cousins support me, saying Marco crossed the line, but others think canceling dinner is punishing everyone else. Now I feel guilty, but I also believe I have a right to protect my peace, especially during such an important time in my life. Am I the bad guy for not wanting to host this year after what my brother did? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. You need peace and tranquility for your pregnancy. Your brother and his attitude can go F off sideways. He's just pissy he's not going to be the center of attention anymore. If the holiday gathering is so important, someone else can step up and host for a few years. It should have been rotated anyway. Not the a-hole. Your brother is a complete a-hole. I'm so sick of people using jokes to be mean and humiliating. Jokes are funny and create a good mood. You are not canceling Christmas, just not having it at your house. In the future, don't feel obligated to invite your brother to any events you host or to even speak to the little creep. Congrats on your pregnancy. Just imagine how special next Christmas will be when your child is here to celebrate with you. Perfect answer, and the family should all share hosting anyway. Not the a-hole. It's wild that people think canceling one dinner is worse than months of mean jokes about something as special as a pregnancy. Stand your ground, and maybe Marco will finally learn that his humor isn't as funny as he thinks. What your brother said was not a joke, it was mean and hurtful. He then doubled down and created a group with your cousins and some relatives. Everyone appeared to think it was funny and only one cousin felt bad about it and told you. Hosting Christmas is exhausting and you have every right to cancel. You are pregnant, you need your rest and peace of mind. You should not be slaving in the kitchen to feed cousins and relatives who think it is perfectly fine to body shame you behind your back. Your brother is behaving no different from a high school bully. He can host his WhatsApp group for Christmas, or your mom and anyone who thinks you overreacted can offer to host. Surprise me, I cannot hear any offers to host. Not the a-hole. You can host your husband, the one cousin and friends at home and start a new tradition. And you need to have a conversation with your mom, that you are disappointed she is not supporting you. Not the a-hole don't break bread with, and certainly don't make it for, people that mock and humiliate you and find that humorous. And if they don't find it humorous, they certainly seem to think you should suck it up and make them some dinner already. Don't reward them with your labor, time, and love. Congrats on the baby. What a perfect opportunity to start some brand new traditions for your new family. Have a happy first Christmas. Story 3. My son's ex invited herself, her new boyfriend, and his kid to Christmas. A little background. My son dated her for a couple of years and she got pregnant. They were going to get married and have a family. I didn't like her all that much, but I learned to love her because my son loved her and she was going to be part of our family. As soon as she got pregnant, she broke up with him and started talking to him about child support. She essentially broke his heart and was now demanding money and severely restricting his access to his son once he was born. I don't have a problem with the child support, and he has paid it, but he has a low-paying job so he can't pay more than that. We have done the best we could supporting her with things she needed for the baby. I particularly drove the 45 minutes one way every Friday to take him so that she would have a break and then drive him home, as well as buying things for her as she needed them like diapers or formula, and was very happy to help out. Her mother constantly berates my son and me to anyone who will listen. Every time my son or I dropped him off, she had a complaint about whether we fed him or if he was too tired or various other things. She once accused me of sending him home with fleas because she had a flea infestation at her house. My dogs do not have fleas, as I give them the monthly pill for it from the vet. Every Christmas, holiday celebration, and birthday we have had her and my grandson at our house. I was hoping someday to be able to have him for holidays without her since she's mean to my son and was their whole relationship. My grandson is 2 now and my son has never been allowed to have him overnight. I was texting my son's ex about Christmas and she agreed to let my son pick him up at her house and bring him to our house for Christmas Eve and then would bring him home. My son just told me that she texted him and said that she was going to bring her boyfriend and her boyfriend's kid to our house for the holiday. I am frustrated. Am I the a-hole because I don't want to have anything to do with her boyfriend or her boyfriend's kid? This looks like it's the only way I'm going to be able to see my grandson from now on. Doesn't it seem odd for her to want us all to meet each other because she's going to spend the rest of his life with him because we are the parents of her ex? I am uncomfortable with this. You need to polish up that spine and put your big girl pants on and stop allowing that girl to bully you. Call her and tell her she will not be coming to your home and definitely not with her boyfriend or his kid. Your son needs to go to family court and get a proper custody order in place for his son and court-determined child support and not whatever that woman thinks she must get from him. Both you and your son need to get it together for God's sake. Yep. 100%. Even if you could reason with her, I'd still go to court. I had to fight for 8 years but I'm off child support, have split custody, and my kids have my last name. I'd have to look at all my receipts to tell you how much I had to spend. But I sure as hell would do it all again. Tenfold. It's such an emotionally charged situation when there's a little one involved that you want to stay close to. However, you know that her demand isn't reasonable or something you want, so say no, it's not going to work for you. Then encourage your son to seek a lawyer's advice to establish some sort of formal custodial agreement because at 2, your grandchild should be able to stay over with his father. You're the a-hole for not already getting court-ordered custody. Exactly. The best thing for the son and the grandson is going to court and getting a parenting plan in place. They are just hurting themselves by letting her call all the shots. Thank you for listening. If you like the video, consider like and subscribe. If you want more stories like these, turn on your notification to receive the latest stories.